Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Cap at Home with Gold Detroit. I'm Miss Allie and this afternoon we are going to be making these really awesome, really simple, silly cardboard yarn monsters. Just a couple surprise to get this kind of cute little furry friend, and they're really easy to make. So I'm going to flip my board over and show you materials and we can get started. Okay, give me a second to set my board up here. I have a few materials here with me today on my board. So I have a few things here like yarn, which we are going to need, any sort of yarn, string, anything like that. Some scissors, pencil, eraser, some paper, a piece of cardboard, and some tape or glue. So whatever you have with you today is going to work just fine. And I am going to adjust my camera just a little bit more so it's easier to see what I will be working on. All right. And right before we get started, I would also like to thank everyone very much for joining me this afternoon. But I also would like to give everyone a shout out to our sponsors at the Community Education Commission of the City of Detroit and General Motors, who allow us to keep offering these free online art tutorials every week. So thank you to those guys. We really appreciate you. And now that we have everything all set up, let's get started. So to make this fun sort of silly yarn monster, we need a couple of things. So like I said, we need some yarn, which I got a bunch of over here. You don't need that much. I just like to have a variety of colors. We're also going to need some sort of paper, some sort of cardboard. Always have pencil, eraser type things. And some scissors and some tape or glue. I have some glue over here. Now the first step in making our monster is to actually draw and cut out the body of our monster. So now I have one that kind of looks like it has like some fur or sort of spiky sides to it. I might also draw one, so maybe I'll draw this one. Maybe I want this one to be a little bit more round. Now, you can totally draw this in pencil first so you can get it the way that you want it. I'm drawing it in marker so you can see what I'm drawing. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to cut it out. So even if the lines aren't straight, it's not really a big deal. We're going to cut it out. And you can always flip it over and use the other side. So once you get this part, we can actually cut it out once you have the shape that you want. It can be any sort of shape, like I said. Now I'm going to cut it out with scissors, and I have this pretty thin cardboard. It's not too thick, so it'll be easier to cut out with scissors. If you have some thicker cardboard, then you might want to ask an adult for help cutting it out. Now I have cardboard. This piece of cardboard is from a inside of a calendar. You know, when they come in those packages and you have that calendar piece, that piece of cardboard that helps it from not bending. But you can also use cardboard from a cereal box or a tissue box or a package delivery, anything like that. Any cardboard like that'll do. And it doesn't really even have to be plain because you could always cover it with paper if you wanted, or color it with markers, or, you know, you can just leave some of the cardboard showing and know that we are going to cover it in yarn anyway. So sometimes it's hard to get those little curves. So that's what I'm cutting out here. Alright, so I say, okay, I like that shape. So I can push my scrap cardboard aside, and I have this shape. Now, there are a couple of other steps that we have to do. So, to this cardboard, the thing that actually makes our yarn wrap around, there's actually these little slits that we cut into the sides of the cardboard. Now, on this one, I kind of added them right into where the cardboard is already cut, but you can see some here towards the edges here. Now, what I mean by that, and I'll just show you with my handy marker so you know what I mean. I'm going to make little cuts here all the way around. You can have them like this, or you can just cut them out as you go. Okay? And so this is what's going to keep our yarn actually in place. So I'm just kind of cutting slightly. I'm not going all the way through. Just making little cuts or slits right there. They don't have to be perfectly straight by any means. And I like to do some kind of in between these little horns or things that I added. So that way it's going to go all the way around. So that's the base of our little cardboard monster. So now I'm going to set this aside. So I have that over here. And I'm actually going to prep the other parts of my monster, and that could be the face. So I drew some eyes and a mouth. You can draw one eye, you can draw two eyes, you can draw a mouth, you can draw a nose, you could draw a tongue sticking out, you could draw big eyelashes or eyebrows, you could draw horns, whatever you would like to do. Totally up to you. So let's say I want to do... I like the idea of doing one big eye. Okay. And I just had this black marker, so I was just going to use this, but you could do this with crayons or colored pencils as well. This is just plain white drawing paper. Okay, and it's not even perfect. I know this is not a very straight line, but that's okay. I could even try and make this a little straighter if I wanted to. I always, when I'm drawing circles or round things, I always like to kind of turn the paper as I'm drawing them. Okay, something like that. And maybe I'll color that part in too. And I could even, I was looking at something earlier today, and it sort of reminded me of Mike Wazowski from Monsters, Inc. And then I felt the need to draw his eye. So that's where my inspiration is coming from right here. Now I just started drawing in marker. I always recommend drawing in pencil first, and then you can erase it, but for the purpose of being able to see it in this video, I drew in marker. So I thought that's kind of a fun eye to do. And then I could do something like maybe I don't know, maybe I have a mouth like this. And like I said, you can make other details too, like horns or a nose or different types of mouths. You can make more than one eye. You could do big eyelashes or big eyebrows. Totally up to you. You could even look at a character from like Monsters, Inc. and make it like that. And let's say I like... maybe he's got one little baby tooth. I like that. So then I might cut those out now. So I can go ahead and take my scissors. And they don't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect. I like doing silly monsters, though. I like monsters with one eye. Can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And it doesn't have to be a scary monster. It could be a silly monster or a funny monster, or it could be real cute. That's totally up to you. It could be a monster who's scared of other monsters. It could be whatever you want it to be. And I'm going to, again, take a minute to cut these out. And I'm taking my time, and I'm not making it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm not trying to rush either. Okay. Just cutting these out. I kind of like the idea of doing some kind of funky, sharp teeth. That always reminds me of a monster. I almost did a tongue sticking out. So I'm going to go ahead and push that scraps aside. I have my facial features. I'm going to put those aside. And I'm going to actually get to the fun part now, the wrapping of the yarn. So, whenever you get to this point, we have our yarn. So I have this, and I have a piece of it. I have a piece of string, and I'm going to pick a side to start on. Let's say I start here. And the yarn actually just fits right into those slits. Now, especially on your first one, I like to always take a piece of tape, small piece of tape, doesn't have to be clear, like, or it could be masking tape or whatever you have. I like to just take a small piece of tape and go ahead and help hold that down. So that'll be good for when we actually start wrapping it. And I'm just going to kind of randomly wrap all the way around, and I'm going to turn it around as I do this, because it's random, right? It's a monster. They're silly. There's not really a whole lot of, doesn't have to be direction. Like if we were making something specific, we might want the same colors or direction to go through. But I'm kind of, if you can see, I'm kind of turning it in different directions. I might want things to overlap a little bit. And I can do this as many times as you want. And the cool thing is, once you start doing this, you start to get more layers. It almost looks like a pattern is emerging, and you can see how many different ways you can break the pattern. I like to do things like that. Let's see, what would be the most different direction I could think of? That type of thing. So you could get to a point and say, I like that color, but I want to switch colors. So anytime you switch colors, you can just go ahead and take your scissors, go ahead and cut the end of the string, and then I'm going to actually, again, I always like to, I just feel better once I have like a small piece of tape, just to sort of help make sure it's secured down. You don't have to do this for each step, but sometimes I like to just make sure, so I know it's not going to like kind of fall apart. And then I can decide, ooh, I have this kind of weird green yarn. I like this, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick a place to start. And I can just begin wrapping. And you can do this as many times as you want. You can do this over and over until it's super full and really thick. Or you could just do a couple layers and decide, hey, that looks good to me. And if your yarn gets tangled, just kind of pull it apart a little bit. You can always have someone in your family help you with the yarn too. And like I said, you can use many colors. You can use one color. You can do as many layers of the colors if you want. It's totally your call. Totally up to you. And I can just keep doing this until I decide that it has enough or I need more. This is the part that could take the longest, but it is really fun. I like to see how much I could fit on here. Okay, so let's say that's a good one. And I might do one more. I have sort of this funky, let's go with this one. I like this kind of color. It's sort of like rainbow, but it has this sort of like weird furry almost aspect to it. And I might go ahead and just do this over the top here. And if it looks like you're getting, like you're making it really full, that's great. See how much more you can add. I always say when you think it looks done, you can probably still add more. That's not the case with a lot of things, but for this I think it works. And you can always like rotate. You could say, you could go back to the color you started with now if you wanted. That's up to you. You could say, oh, you know, I really like this layer. This looks good now. Totally up to you. So I might say, I think this looks good. It's really addicting to keep going. But I might say, okay, I think that's good. Cut it off. Take a little piece of tape. Make sure it's taped down somewhere. Right here at the end. Kind of sticking it down there. And you can even kind of move things around to kind of see the under layers of your other colors if you want. Or you could go back and put more layers on top. Or you could say, this looks good. And you could go on to your final steps. And so your final steps are adding your details. So whatever you want, wherever you want these to go, your big eyes and mouth or nose or whatever you made. You may also decide, hey, I want to wrap the top here, sort of like I did. You could wrap the top with yarn up here. You can even color that part in. I could decide, let's see, I could take some markers and decide, I think these would look really cool. If these were blue-ish, I could do something like that. I could add construction paper to them. I could do something like that. Anything you want to do, totally up to you. So whenever you get it the way that you want it, the way that makes you happy when you look at it, because it's your little monster friend. I might add some polka dots. I love polka dots. I put them on everything. And even in this one, I added some little details, so it made it look like it had fur all the way around. You could do that. You could add, like, hints of polka dots. So, like, throughout the string, it almost looks like you could see them kind of poking through. That you could totally do. I kind of like doing that. I think that's kind of a cool idea. It almost looks like it's poking out. And then lastly, you can go ahead and add your eye. So I might add my eye, like, all the way up here. This is where tape or like Elmer's glue works the best. I have some Elmer's glue over here. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure my top's all the way off. Shake it up a little bit. Elmer's glue is one of those things that always takes a minute to get it to go, isn't it? There we go. Okay. Add some glue there. You can also tape it down too. Tape will work just as good. And I can add my little smile down here. Same thing. Glue. Might need to get some more glue. Okay, when it's the way I like it, one thing I like to do is make sure I put some heavy books on top of it. And so I have a couple of sketchbooks here, so I'm going to let those sit on here, and that's going to help it let it dry and keep it in place. So I let this one dry overnight, and then this morning I took it off, and I know that the paper isn't going to come off. Everything's stuck down really good. So I pressed it down, I set my books on top of it, and now I'm going to let it dry for a couple hours, and then I'll be ready to pick it up and play with your really cool yarn monster. And the cool thing is, you can make as many of these as you want. So you can make a little friend, you could name them, and they're really easy to make and very fun to do. So, with that, when you get to this point, this is a good time to clean up while everything is drying. So make sure whatever you use is put back where you found it. Scissors, markers. If you have any scraps, you want to make sure you throw those away. I know I have a trash bin in my studio here. I like to wrap up my yarn on the sides and kind of make sure it's all kind of stuck into one place. And throwing away any of my cardboard scraps or paper scraps, anything like that. So once you get your studio all set up the way it was, then you are free to play with your awesome yarn monster and show it off to your friends, and more importantly, show it off to us. I'd love to see what you made today. So feel free to post your photo of your project in the comments or share it with us through our email provided in the link below. It was great making art with you today. I hope to see you again next week. And don't forget that we have more art projects every day after school at 4 p.m. streaming live, and you can catch any of our projects if you missed them on our Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook pages. So thank you for joining me today. Again, my name is Miss Allie, and we made these awesome yarn monsters. And I can't wait to see you again on Cap at Home. Have a good one.